Hi everyone, and welcome to Mara's donor recruitment training. Now we're going to try and keep this as quick as we can, but just to give you a quick overview of what we're going to do today, we're going to talk about what happens when you try to sign up a donor and how you can sign up a potential donor at an Anthony Nolan recruitment event. We're not going to go through how to set up an event or how to, order an event. This is literally just from the point of you arriving at the event and what you need to do in order to successfully take somebody through the sign up process. If you're interested in learning about anything else, such as ordering events, supplies, or setting up events by yourself, then you can always get in touch with some of the team. You can reach us on maro@anthonynolan.org and we can clarify that for you. Same really goes for if you have any questions. Obviously, this is a recorded session. So if you have any questions that arise from this session, then please just email us or get in touch with your Maro steward and we can do that for you. Just a quick disclaimer, I am a little ill today. So obviously this is recorded, but if you see me sort of pause for a second, that's probably just because I need to cough or blow my nose and just need to mute myself for a second. So just excuse that short pause. Right, but let's get started. So say you turn up at a recruitment event and you turn up, the table's already set up. What do you need to do? First thing you do is you sign into the event. So hopefully at your event, you should have a black folder available. And that black folder has a whole lot of really, really helpful information in it. But most importantly, you open it up and you should be able to find this link, the anthonynolan.org/event volunteer link somewhere, and open that up. If you get it up on your phone, it should open up this Microsoft form and you fill that in just to say you've arrived at the event. This needs to be done by both volunteers, committee, and Anthony Nolan staff members. Everybody needs to fill this form in, so please make sure that you ask about this form as soon as you get there. And all the information that you need to input into this form can also be found in the black folder. So things like the actual event name or event ID should all be written down somewhere in the black folder, and you can just copy that information over. This is really just to make sure that you're agreeing to a confidentiality agreement, and also to make sure that if anything happens at the event, we have a contact that can, speak to us about it, or also we can see who was at the event, whether we need to follow this up. So it's to keep you safe as well as anybody who was at the event safe. The next thing you need to do is prep your wallets if they haven't been prepped already. Hopefully, if you've turned up at the event, they've already been prepped, but this is a step that also needs to be repeated throughout the event. So this is the only sort of setup step I'm going to take you through today. And the reason I mention it is because it is really imperial to making sure that our event applications match our samples. Now, the reason I say this is because our QR codes and barcodes are unique. So when somebody scans a QR code to take them to the application, their application will be linked to this QR code, will be linked to this wallet because it's stuck on the QR code stuck on this wallet. So once they complete their application, it will be linked to this QR code and the ID, the applicant ID that is on this QR code. And if the sample that is on the back of this, the barcode with the sample ID on the back of this doesn't match, then we run the risk of the application and the swab not actually matching up, and our labs won't process the sample. And then all your hard work will have gone to waste because you will have recruited somebody and you will have taken them through the application and the swab. And then just because these stickers don't match, the application might have to be thrown out. So we don't want that to happen. So please make sure that you always sticker them correctly. Now, by that, I mean the QR code needs to go on the front, the barcode needs to go on the back, and they need to match. They need to be from the same row. So on the day, you will receive a few sheets of paper with lots of these rows on them. And when you label a wallet, make sure that the QR code and the barcode that you stick on a wallet are definitely from the same row. They follow this arrow here. That's really just to reinforce that message. Please use the same row, but that's just to keep in mind when you label a wallet. The QR code on the front, barcode on the back need to match for sure. So You've pre-labeled your wallets, you are ready to sign up a donor. How do you do that? The sign-up process generally looks like this. So you start with the first chat at the education desk. This is hopefully how your desk is looking like, roughly. You've got a tablecloth on them, you have everything you need on the actual desk. It looks visually appealing. And then once you've signed somebody up, or not you've signed somebody up, once you've explained to somebody how the process works, they then go on to fill in a form and then they swap their cheeks. So starting off with the education desk. Now, the reason the education desk and that approaching is so important is because as long as this stage is done correctly, we will have very high quality donors on the register. So somebody who has been properly informed, who knows exactly what they're signing up to, and who is happy to go ahead with both methods of donation is what we sort of define as a high quality donor. And that's because they're the most likely to actually go on to donate if they're asked to do so, because they've already had all the information and they thought about it when they signed up. Another reason that's important is because the education desk is where you really capture the attention of potential donors. So if you're just sort of stuck behind the desk and don't do much, just wait for people to approach you, you're not going to sign very many people up to the register that day. Instead, we encourage people to venture out from behind that desk and actively approach people by using attention-catching phrases. So if you see somebody walk past, you might say something like, "Hey, have you heard of Anthony Nolan before?" Or, "Hi, would you like to save a life today?" And lots of them, admittedly, will just say no and walk away. But some people might be really interested and say, "Oh, no, I've not heard of them before. Hey, yeah, I'd love to save a life." And in that case, you just give them a super quick idea of what we're doing. So we're here with Anthony Nolan today. We're signing people up to the stem cell register. And if you were to join, you could be a match for someone with blood cancer and save their life by donating your stem cells. Is that something you might be interested in? And if they are, at that point, you can take them back to the desk to a point where you can just chat to them for about 5 minutes, check they're eligible and happy to go on with both donation methods. Now, what do I mean by eligibility? Eligibility means they are between the age of 16 and 30, they have a UK home address for the next 3 years, and they weigh over 50 kilograms. Now, the reason we sign up people between the age of 16 and 30, and that includes 16 and 30-year-olds, so they, as long as it's still before their 31st birthday, we can sign them up, is because our research has shown that people between the age of 16 and 30 are the most favored donors. That never means that people over the age of 30 are less valuable donors or that we don't want them on the register. It just means that we focus our resources on signing up those donors that are most likely to go on to donate, and those are the ones between 16 and 30. Your chances of being called up to donate simply go down a bit after the age of 30, but it doesn't mean you're not likely to go on to donate anymore. It just means it's less likely, and we focus where we spend our money on that high, sort of like high probability group of people. The next 3 years, having a UK home address simply revolves around whether or not we can get in touch with you. So if somebody doesn't have a UK home address for the next 3 years, and they get called up within that period of time, then they might have moved at that point and they'll have changed their details and maybe forgotten to tell us about it, or they will have moved to maybe Germany and then we realize they actually need to be transferred onto the German register. So the whole process actually just holds up the donation potentially, and it also costs a lot of money after we've already spent money on actually signing them up. For those of you that don't know, it costs about £40 to sign somebody up to the register. So if we sign somebody up to our UK register and then they move afterwards and we have to transfer them onto another register within 3 years, that means we didn't actually spend our resources very wisely because we've shouldered a lot of the costs that another register benefits from. Now, obviously, that's still a good thing because it's another donor on the register, and we always want other registers to succeed just as much as we do. But it does mean that we're not spending our resources the way we need to. And because we're a charity, we don't always have, unlimited resources. We want to focus our resources on those donors that are most likely to go on to donate through us in the end. And then finally, the over 50 kilogram rule just relates to safety of the donor. So we always make sure that our donors are just as safe as our patients during the donation process. So we want to make sure that they too are in the best possible place to go on to donate. when it comes to it. And if they're under 50 kilos, that can mean that maybe one of the donation methods might not be as safe a procedure for them. And we want to avoid disappointment both for patients as well as for the actual donor. So we just try to not sign people up who don't meet that criteria, because they're less likely to be able to actually go on to donate when they get called up. Now, but say your donor is between 16 and 30, has a UK home address for the next 3 years, and just on a side note, that excludes any sort of like traveling or years abroad, as long as their home address, like their parents' address or something, is in the UK, that's totally fine. And then they do weigh over 50 kilos, then you can check that they're totally fine to sign up. So what you maybe want to tell them is that they're going to stay on the register until their 61st birthday. On their 61st birthday, they get taken off the register because they won't be called up to donate anymore. But obviously, they can also request to be taken off the register before that, as long as they get in touch with us and ask about it. You also need to make sure that they know they could donate to anyone in the world, but the donation itself will actually always take place in the UK. And that the donation process is most likely completely anonymous. It's very rare that a donor and a patient meet, and even then it's under, I think there's at least 2 years of complete anonymity that needs to happen. So they need to be okay with that, and they need to be happy with both methods of donation, fully understand them. That is PBSC and bone marrow donation. I'm going to take you through those two in a second, but just to emphasize, anyone that you sign up needs to be happy to donate via both methods of donation. They can't just be happy to go on with one, because even though one of the methods is more likely to happen, if you get called up and you actually say, "Oh, I don't want to donate via that method, I wanted to donate via the other one," somebody might just drop out of the process because they realize that that's not the preferred way of donating, or it's not possible in that moment. And then we've given a family hope. That person might have been their only match or their only chance at this donation. And that's just a really horrible thing to put both patient and donor through, because the patient has to live with the knowledge that somebody who could have gone on to donate decided not to, and the donor needs to live with the fact that they've just said no. And obviously that's totally valid. They live with the fact, this is a really strong wording, that's not quite what I meant, but it can be, it can be inducing feelings of guilt, and we don't want anybody to feel even worse than they and they have to, just because they've said no to donation, or because their donor said no. It's just not a nice situation to be in, basically. So just, yeah, make sure that everybody who signs up is happy to go on to donate via either method of donation. So, like I said, there's two methods of donation. The first one is the most common one. It's peripheral blood stem cell donation, or PBSC, and 90% of people go on to donate like this. Usually I tend to say it's very similar to giving blood. So actually, over the course of 4 days, a friendly nurse will come to either your house or your place of work, wherever you want. We work around you, and they will give you injections which will help your body produce more stem cells. So it will increase the stem cell count in your blood. And then on the 5th day, you go to hospital, you just get to chill out like Doug is doing here. You have blood taken from a tiny tube in one arm that will then put the blood into a machine where the stem cells get filtered out of the blood in a very fancy machine. And the rest of the blood, the stem cells filtered out of it, will actually be passed back into the other arm. So you don't lose a single thing other than those excess stem cells you produce because of those injections. There shouldn't be any pain involved. You can really just like hang around, watch Netflix, like a box said. You can bring a friend, anything like that. But you might feel a bit sore after, have some flu-like symptoms, but there's nothing that paracetamol can't fix. Now, 10% of the time, and this is usually only if you are donating to a child or it's a specifically severe case, you might be asked to go under general anesthetic and donate your bone marrow. The bone marrow would be taken from your pelvis or your hip bone using a needle and syringe, and you might be asked to stay in the hospital for 2 nights, so the night before and after the donation. But while there's lots and lots of misconceptions about this, there's no pain involved. You're asleep for the whole time during the procedure. Lots of people who go through this sort of say, "Oh yeah, I went under the anesthetic and then I woke up like right after and the procedure was already done," because they just don't realize that it happened. You might feel a bit of aching in your lower back afterwards, but again, that's been compared to the pain of like leg day at the gym, or I don't know, like a tough rugby game. So it's again nothing that can't be fixed with some painkillers, and you're taken very, very good care of. You will be checked in for multiple months afterwards, as in checked in on. We will get in touch, make sure you're still okay, that you're happy, you're healthy, there's no side effects. So we would never put you in a position where the donation would actually pose a risk to you. But if a donor is happy to donate via both methods, they match our eligibility criteria, they're happy with all the facts, then you can get them to fill in their online form. So, as you remember, we pre-labeled some wallets earlier on. They should have a QR code on the back and a barcode on the back. QR code on the front, a barcode on the back. So if a donor is happy to go on to donate, you grab one of those wallets from them and you get them to scan the QR code on the front. And that should bring up a link at the top, and they click that link and that should take us to their application form. Now, sometimes that takes a second to load. So just in that time, you get them to write their initials and date of birth on the back of the wallet. There's like a little box for it. The reason we do that is because sometimes people accidentally misplace their wallets, or sometimes you have a group of people signing up and they might swap wallets. But as you remember what we were saying earlier on, once you scan this QR code, your application that you're completing on your phone is linked to this QR code and wallet. So it's really important that your swabs will definitely go in the same wallet that has your application linked to it. So if you can, make sure that they write their date of birth and initials on the back. So you just have a security step at the end of their application form to say, just before you do your swabs, is this definitely your wallet? Is this your date of birth and your initials? And if they say yes, then you can make sure, then you're sure that their swabs can go into that wallet. Just a few tips. Sometimes the QR code comes up with an error message. If that's the case, we tend to recommend using the actual phone camera to scan the QR code. Don't use a QR code scanning app. That seems to corrupt the barcodes and the QR codes for some reason. Or use a Snapchat camera. Weirdly enough, Snapchat seems to work with a procedure, so they can also use Snapchat to scan the QR code. If, however, an error message still comes up, don't just stick a new QR code and barcode on the back. Rip the wallet up, recycle it, and give them a brand new wallet to scan. Don't ever reuse the wallet that's already that's already failed. You can just throw it out. But if it goes ahead, if the scanning goes fine, they should be taken to an education page that should cover everything that they already spoke about, or that you should have already told them. So they can just scroll down to a big green button that says something like apply to join the register, and that will take them to the application. So at this point, they usually are able to do this by themselves, so you don't really need to check in with them, but it's good to have seen the application form just so you can help in case they do have any questions. So the first page will just ask them some general eligibility questions we've already spoken about. So are they between 16 and 30? Do they live in the UK? And then they will be asked some general health questions that, again, should filter out anybody who isn't eligible to donate. So, for example, if they've had HIV, HTLV, hepatitis B or hepatitis C in the past, or if they've ever been injected with non-prescription drugs, they can't sign up, but the form should at that point kick them off themselves and explain to them. There should be a page popping up explaining to them why they can't sign up, so it takes that responsibility away from you and you don't need to worry about that anymore. So at this point, like I said, they should be able to answer this by themselves, but with a bit of luck, everything goes well, they are eligible, and you can take them through to the rest of the application. Step 3, really just ask them for some basic details. The only thing to note here is that sometimes as their primary email address, we ask that they don't put a uni email address that ends in .ac.uk down. Always use your personal one, because .ac.uk email addresses expire. They can use them as alternative email addresses, but we do ask that for their primary email, they use something more permanent like a Gmail or Hotmail or something like that. Then they get asked about their sex assigned at birth. Now, the reason we still need to know this is because generally men are, or biologically, people who were assigned male at birth are more likely to be called up to donate. This is fairly new in the form, so we do ask that they still put this information down. There is a link here that explains why exactly we need to know this, which is because sex assigned at birth is still important and can affect the stem cell donation process. But we will also ask them for their gender identity, and we will respect their gender identity in all communications with them. We just need to know their sex assigned at birth for actual matching and donation purposes. We will never favor this information over the gender identity they provide us with. We will also ask them for their ethnicity. This is because their ethnic background can help us identify best possible matches. This drop down or this multiple choice will actually specify more. So if they click, for example, Asia, then it will open up a new page that will let them choose from Indian, Chinese, Japanese, etc., etc., and they can further specify there. But it is important for us to know because it does help us again in the matching process. So if they can be as specific as possible, that would be ideal. Then we will ask them for some general medical history. Nothing that they put down here would necessarily exclude them from joining the register, but it's still important for us to know if they're not sure of something like the exact year of diagnosis. That's totally fine. They can just give us a rough estimate. These things are checked manually, so if anything of concern pops up, then we will just get in touch with them and follow up. And if they have any questions about anything that pops up here, they can also message donor.support@anthonynolan.org and they will be able to help them out with more information. And then finally, we will ask them for a nominated contact. Now, this is just a person that we can get in touch with in case we can't get in touch with the actual donor because maybe their details are outdated, they didn't keep them up to date, or there was a mistake in like a typo or something. And in that case, we would try and get in touch with this nominated contact so that they could put us in touch with the potential donor. Now, ideally, they would have a different email, phone, and home address, but that isn't always possible. So as long as one of these details is different from the actual applicant, that should be fine. We can't accept international details here. So if they don't have a parent in the country that they can put down as something, a friend is totally okay as well. And then, like I said, the last thing, that was the last thing where they really need to provide information, but we will ask them for some consent. So this is really for them to properly understand what they're signing up to. They need to just agree to all the things we should have already informed them of. So that's they need to be happy to donate via either method of donation. They understand they'll stay on the register until their 61st birthday and that they're not already on any other register. So something we've not spoken about yet is that you only need to sign up to one of the stem cell registers. So if somebody's already signed up with DKMS or the British Bone Marrow Registry, or even a register from another country, so maybe they're already signed up in their home country, all these registers talk to each other, so they only need to be on one register. And actually, if they sign up with multiple registers, it can just cause more confusion and complicate things. So if they're already on a register, they don't need to sign up with us again. And then they just agree to our privacy policy. And once they've done that, this screen should pop up. Now, what do you do at that point? At that point, they should come to you and say, okay, no, I've completed it. It says swab your cheeks. And at that point, you grab their wallet. And again, you make sure, are these your date of birth and initials? Is this definitely your wallet? If they say yes, fantastic. Get them to write this confirmation code from their phone screen onto the wallet. So ideally, you do that just like under your date of birth and initials. Just get them to pop it wherever there's space. And that's just an additional step for us to make sure application and swab definitely match. So once they've written their confirmation code on the wallet, they can close the screen. They should have also gotten an email with this information in it. So that's really just to confirm they've definitely been added. But the next step would be to actually swab. Now, what do you do when you swab? You grab them one of the swab packs, which will have 3 swabs in them. They look like this, like long plastic swabs with a fuzzy tip, and open the swab for them. Please open it at the plastic end and not the fuzzy end. Make sure that absolutely nothing but the inside, pardon me, that nothing but the inside of their cheeks actually touches the fuzzy end of the swab. But they then take the swabs out of the plastic packaging, and they can do this one at a time or two at a time, but get them to rub the fuzzy end of the swab into both cheeks and both gums. So like between your lips and teeth. Every single swab does the same thing. So all 3 swabs go into both cheeks and both gums, and they rub them around for roughly 30 seconds each. It's a bit like scrubbing your teeth or brushing your teeth, but with a swab and obviously with your cheeks. But you can just get them to move the swab up and down, spin it around, just, yeah, make sure they get lots and lots of saliva on there. And once they've done that, they pop them straight into the wallet like this. The swabs do not go back into the plastic. They go straight into the wallet. And once all 3 swabs have been completed, you peel off the sticky seal, you seal the wallet by closing it, and then you pop it into the red bag that should be somewhere at the event. All completed samples go into this red bag, and at the end of the day, once you've had all the samples collected in this red bag, you seal that bag with a zip tie. But for now, you've signed this one person up, you seal their wallet, you pop it in the red bag, and at that point, you just give them a temporary donor card, thank them for signing up, they've done something amazing, make sure they know that, and then they can go on their way being now on the register. It takes about 6 weeks, roughly, sometimes more, sometimes less, to get a permanent donor card in the post. So if they want, you can let them know that they will get something in the post in a few weeks' time. But other than that, they can go about their day and you're almost done. So that process obviously gets repeated for every single donor that you try to sign up. But at the end of the day, like I said, when you've collected all your samples in your red bag, you zip tie the red bag and place it on top of all the other supplies that you've packed very neatly back into the crate. So absolutely everything goes back into the crate, any leftover wallets, any leftover swabs, leftover leaflets, unless it's something that your group is holding on to. So sometimes you have your own banner or your own tablecloth, obviously keep those. But everything you don't want to keep goes back into the crate, and the completed zip tied red bag with all the samples goes on top of all the other supplies. You also have to fill in a delivery note, which you can find in the black folder. All you need to do is in these blue boxes here, you sign it as the event lead. So that should be the person who booked in the event or the president of the society or any committee member, really. Sign it here. Then you pop in how many samples you collected that day and sign it again. And then you put that on top of the red bag. And then you zip tie the green crate as well. The green crate is what all your supplies would have come in. And you fill in the return label, which you can also find in the black folder. So just a top tip, take the return label in the black folder out of the crate before you zip tie it. Just take out the return label, put the black folder back in the crate, and then you zip tie the crate. I've been left with many black folders and also many tape rolls because I forgot to put them in, and then I've zip tied the crate and can't get them back in. So just as an FYI, make sure you take the return label out before you zip tie the crate. But if you've done that, then you just stick the return label on top, you tape it to the top of the crate, fill it in. So put in how many samples you've collected again, or how many samples are in the crate, and then also the date of the collection. That's usually the next working day, but it's really just whenever your group booked that. And then you just return the crate to wherever you book the collection from. So usually that's either like your house or the reception closest to the event where you've run the event, but you should know where you've booked your collection from. And if you're unsure, just get in touch with the Mara team and they can give you a bit more information, or they can try and find out for you. But once you've done that, you're all done and you just signed up potential donors. You just ran an event. So go you. That's everything from me today. But if you have any other questions, if there's anything else that you are unsure about, make sure to just chat to your committee, consult the step-by-step guides, or get in touch with somebody from the Mara team, and we can help you identify any issues, or we can help you answer any questions that you still have. Till then, I hope you have lots and lots of luck at your recruitment events and hope to see you at one of them soon.